It's High Noon with Ricardo, Monday to Wednesday from 12 noon to 3 p.m. Your matters matter, where the music matters. And at 1 p.m. it's High Talk, dialogue from the ground up, from tech talk to taxi talk. The Barber Green Parliament tackles the topics that affect us. Community, accountability, solutions. And we end on a high note, uplifting stories, victories, good news, and reminders that hope still lives among us. High Noon, where your matters matter. Monday to Wednesday at 12 noon. Only on WAC 90.1 FM.
It's just about 1:03 here on the 901. It's time for High Talk on the High Noon Shift with Ricardo Mitchell. This is where your matters matter. We had an hour of very, very interesting music. I don't know if you noticed, but the majority of it, the significant majority of it, was from, well, one of my sister isles. I don't know if it's all the sister isles, but it's one of my sister isles now, because I'm gonna get some roots over there. Because I had to go back for the fish. There's still very, very large portions of fish with the meals. Anyway, that aside, so there was Calypso, things like Biggie Irene are going home. We had Iron Bazadi, the soca in the soca space. We had Square One Crossfire. I think we had a Burning Flames in there. We had Peter Ram. Of course, I'm saving my Kaiso for a little later in the program because that's how I roll. But it was amazing to me just how timeless that music has been, even though it's music from 1980s, 90s, the 10s come up. So much so that we had the Pick of the Crop winner, Adrian Clark, with his Legends of From the Grave. Very interesting concept and video. I'm sure Shadow fans are loving what they're seeing and hearing. So, I'm just saying that maybe it's time for another wave of Bajan influence in our music. So to get ahead of that, because you know me, I want to get in front of these things, I decided to bring in some men with, musical gifts and talents and skill sets and interests to have a little high talk on music. So let me see if I could just switch up the camera and thing, press the buttons and then. Right, so what you should be seeing shortly is three handsome gentlemen. If you're seeing four, that means you're seeing me twice. But that aside, this one is going to be a little bit different because normally I wax philosophical on matters of national interest, but now I'm going to wax a little bit on matters of regional interest. We have two gentlemen here. One, I call him Sir Anthony Durrant, and his offspring. Listen, always like watching an episode of Back to the Future 4 here because it's a replicant, a taller version, same stern eyes, easier smile. I say, but what is this? It was really like watching future and past at the same time. So it's a pleasure to, be able to connect with you guys and introduce you all as well to the WAC family. Now, the WAC family is easy. The majority of them living outside. And I guess it's nice to have more Caribbean vibe and influence in this space. So I'm talking long enough that my mouth getting dry. Let me lower the bed so we could hear our guests. And I already introduced the gentleman in the blue shirt. This is Anthony Durrant. And this young man, so is it Tehillah or Tehillah? Tehillah Durrant.
Yes, please.
Right. So he's the guy on the post, on the photo, and I'm going to be directing the majority of this dialogue to you. Yeah. Right. And the thing is, I've been saying Barbados. I want to know from the experts themselves: is it Barbados or is it Barbados?
It's Barbados.
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 The 246.
The 246?
The 246.
All right, well, the 246 in the 868 here on WAC 90.1 FM. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, man. So the reason that y'all are here, well, besides this being the day that the Lord has made, and we rejoice and are glad in it. And this is the shift, the opportunity He has given us. That's first and foremost.
Yeah.
This is what High Noon is about, right? This is a space where we get to build bridges, we get to pull down what had to pull down, build up what had to build up. And one of the things I want to build is a working relationship with Barbados, because as I say, the portions of fish real big. I could get used to it. Lovely place. And let's start with the last thing first. Apparently there's some regional cricket competition going on or another.
Yeah.
CPL.
Yeah. How many times has Barbados won the CPL? No? Yeah? No?
Once, I think.
Once.
Oh, okay, alright. Well, that's not bad. Only right there, man. Only right there. Only have any hopes for this year's tournament?
Yeah,
Yeah, we do.
me too. I've been watching the guys play and they look very strong, and I think they can make it very far in the tournament, the way how they're shaping up so far.
Alright.
I think we have the opportunity to beat Trinidad today.
Oh, that's...
You're in a Star War, huh?
I just threw them bounce. I bowled in the bounce.
Ah,
Yeah.
Alright. And so cricket is going on. That's one thing. We enjoy it. Apparently there are nail-biting matches.
of course.
Right, so much so that people might be on the phone when they're not supposed to be on the phone checking scores and
Boy.
and one of the other things that brings us together as a people is the music. Right?
course.
I just played an hour straight of just the tip of the iceberg. And music is important because it captures our stories.
Agreed.
I only recently discovering how significant that is when you start looking for things online, and sometimes the only reference you have to them is the music it was in.
Yes.
Of course.
Right. So Tehillah, I want to know why. First, I'm gonna ask you to validate your musical interest. Tell me how serious you are about music.
Well, I am very, very serious, so much so that I have just completed a 2-year associate degree in the field of music at the Barbados Community College. I started music like really, really young. From my dad can tell you, from young I was always beating on pots and pans and the like, and I was always showing an interest at church, in the worship team and stuff. I always had an interest in music. So when I left school and I had the opportunity to, I jumped at the opportunity to do music. And to speak a bit about what you said as well, about music capturing stories, I believe music is probably, if not one of the best way to capture emotions. There is, in the words of my music teacher, music captures everything. There is music for every single emotion, every single experience there is to have on this human existence. Music captures it all. And to me, that is probably the most beautiful thing and the thing that resonates most with me in music. When I'm sad, I listen to music. When I'm happy, I listen to music. When I want to party, I listen to music. When I want to worship, I listen to music. And I think that is the most beautiful thing.
All right, and that was a fantastic interview. What was there to say? and you, Anthony, I've witnessed you. I've seen you in some musical spaces, and I think I will continue to underestimate just how much experience you have and how far your influence goes when it comes to music. You understand music.
Yeah. Music, as my son said, music is, if you want to interpret how you feel, sometimes you don't have to say anything. You can say a song. Sometimes if I want to convey a message, I send a song. Right? In my life, that was one of the most significant things from music. So much so that from early, I picked up the guitar. So, my son could tell you that I would be in the house and guitar, in church, guitar. I was always like that. Same thing when I'm happy is the music. is a song, is a something. And sometimes they would laugh at me because in the house I take up the guitar and I sing what you call silly songs. I just not how you will have what is it termed down? And around carnival time you have this
the extempo one.
Extempo.
Yeah.
So that's kind of I take up the thing and I start singing something and I do that at work. When I work for companies, I see nonsense going on and I walk to the office and I sing a song and they look at me and they want to know what's going on. So that, music has played an important part of my life, even as a Christian, as a minister. Music is just the thing for me. When my son says he was going into music, he was the only one of my 4 children that decided that they were going to just join me on this thing. And I'm very happy for it.
Yeah, and interesting to juxtapose, a few months ago, we had a world record creating performance in this very building, a couple of rooms down. And I remember we interviewed the young man years ago, before his trajectory was as clear as it is now. And one of his challenges was he felt unsupported at the time. And not to drag up old things, but it is fact, it's on public record. He felt unsupported at the time. And to see now that he has been to the Great Wall of China, he's been to Africa, he's been Rio de Janeiro, he's carrying pan all over the world. And there's a pan man statue down the road. We're in the middle of at least 3 or 4 pan yards right here. And it was very interesting to me that last week, as Trinidad and Tobago and the world celebrated World Steelpan Day, that the focus from the MCCD was the youth in pan. So there were 14 youth steel orchestras that were performing, 14 in Port of Spain at the time. They were excellent. It was an impressive display of the hands that the national instruments were in. The day after that, the 12th of August, was actually the UN International Youth Day. It got less coverage than it normally would because, Trinidad and Tobago will celebrate October for, Universal Children's Day, whatnot. And then days later, I meet a youth from another country who wasn't just studying music, but you are specializing in Steelpan, yes. I said, well, what are the odds of this? Right? I have an international youth who's specializing in pan.
Yeah.
I have to bring him in. Right. So we have evidence that pan is expanding its reach. And yes, we have issues with who patented the pan and the countries that, taking it to a different level. But we're seeing right in our, I can't even say backyard again, I had to say front yard as well, the type of interest where Barbadian youth, or Bajan, right, is studying music with a specialization in pan. So how does that work? What is that? How do you specialize in pan?
Well, I think a lot of people can, relate to this, but I started very, very, very young, watching steel bands and stuff. I remember when I was 13, I would have started watching national events like Pandemonium and stuff that we have in Barbados, which is our pan festival, the major pan festival in Barbados. And it kind of showed me how bad I wanted to do this, because I would have gone to a couple pan camps when I was younger, and I met a couple friends and stuff there that I still have to this day. And that's what really, I guess, pushed my love for pan as well, the friends that I made when I was doing it. And, back to Pandemonium, I watched the Barbados National Youth Steel Orchestra. I remember very clearly I was in the front and I watched them and I saw them and I was just like, I gotta be doing this next year. I have to be there. And true to my word, I pestered my music teacher, Mr. Laurie Worrell, and by I think pandemonium was July. By I think September I was in the National Orchestra learning how to play pan. And I mean, it's not like I was a complete beginner as well. My previous experiences, especially with the Christchurch Foundation School Steel Orchestra, namely, they helped me along the way, to that milestone. I consider it probably one of my greatest achievements as well. Just being able to experience pan on a different level from where I was at the time. I went on to be a more senior member in the orchestra, and then I was made the leader of the orchestra, the band captain, and that was where I started to really develop my skills and hone my skills, because you gotta lead by example, you gotta be most disciplined, you gotta practice, you gotta show a certain level to maintain leadership of the people that are under you. And it taught me a lot of things, but most importantly it just taught me discipline. And that's what I really thank the foundation school from. We went on after that to do a couple of other things, like when NIFCA, which is our National Independence Festival of the Creative Arts, and that was probably that was a time, boy, because I was rehearsing day and night, pull out the classes so much that we were rehearsing till 8 o'clock at night, and that might sound like a bit, like a little bit of time, but for school, pulling all the classes, it was really hard.
Yeah. And I remember seeing a couple months ago a flyer. It was sometime around April. You presented your music portfolio.
Yes, please. So in part of our completion in my associate degree is to plan an event. And that is our portfolio. That is BCC music portfolio. And basically we had to do everything, like work out our caterers, and work on our own presentations as well, figure out our stage lighting, plan parking, everything, and it's just another part of the program. The highlight of which was performing with my friends Mariano Cheeseman, Jalea Green, and Miguel Barca. They really, really, really are talented people as well, especially Mariano. Mariano is coming to Trinidad to study, pan at St. Augustine. And, it was a process. The rehearsals were grueling. We put in a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it paid off in that spectacular night. If you missed it, I'm sorry for you.
But it was interesting. So you have friends who came to Trinidad to study pan.
Yes, yeah. I have a couple. Mr. Delano Hines, Miss Kaya Sherlin, and Mr. Mariano Cheeseman. They had been my friends for a very, very long time. I would have met Delano and Kaya when it was still in primary school. We're still friends to this day. Mariano I met later in secondary school, and we've been great friends.
Yeah.
And they have more or less the same experiences as me, being in the National Orchestra, various pan camps, and community groups. And we decided they have a drive and a passion for pan like no other, and they are really, really, really like, they love the instrument, much like myself, and it's just spectacular to see them really, really realizing their dreams and taking these steps to achieve them.
It is interesting to hear the interest in an interest. Okay, that's it for me on the word interest until all now next week, all right? What I've observed as a very interesting trend in Jamaica, there was the Usain Bolt. And coming out of that, no, they were always fantastic athletes, don't get me wrong, but you saw an interest in the youth development in those spaces. In Barbados, there's a young lady, I believe she sings some form of popular music or R&B or something like that, and they think she's your last remaining national hero. Yeah, you know. Yeah, her name slips me at the moment.
Miss
Rihanna.
Yeah.
Miss Rihanna.
All right. So, have you seen a rekindling of the passion for music from Barbados youth because of her? And if so, how come you're seeing so much more interest in things like the pan and the how to put it, by the more regional expressions of music? Then how come you're not hearing more pop artists and R&B artists coming out of this space?
I think that's simply because of what the popular music remains in Barbados. And you know, a lot of people talk about Rihanna and, you know, how popular she is. She's world famous. But in Barbados, we have musicians that we look up to more directly and that are way closer to home than she is. People like Mikey Mercer, Gabby, Red Plastic, some of the familiar names like Edwin Yearwood, and even within musician spaces, there are musicians in Barbados that we look up to, like Nicholas Branca. You know, he was responsible for producing a lot of the Bajan music as well. So, especially in musician spaces, like those are the names that I guess we revere. We respect Rihanna, we respect all the greats. However, when it comes to looking up to people more directly, those are the people that we look at.
That is, I like that. I like that because you're not setting the exception as your standard. So you're not chasing the lightning in a bottle. What you're doing is you're raising the standard by replicating the immediate success that you're seeing. So you're fleshing out the industry. Correct. So what you have now is a higher ground for the next generation of musicians to grow from.
Correct.
And that is good.
Yeah, I really appreciate, like, I want to take a second here and just appreciate the people that have poured into me, because I would not be where I am today without the people that taught me, who continue to mentor me, like Andrea Ford, Mark Ford, Dwight Callender, Mr. Laurie Worrell, especially. You know, I respect him a lot because, you know, I don't think I would be as into music because, you know, I saw music as this big thing, you know, this spectacular thing that I just could not achieve from Barbados. You know, I would see all the international artists like Rihanna, you know, and a couple others, and I would be like, this seemed unattainable for me. And you know, a lot of people would be like, you know, music, you can't make no money off of that, boy. Yeah, you know, you best gonna sit down and learn accounting or learn how to.
That's accounting. That was not a shot at DJ Aaron 868, by the way. Aaron, I didn't know anything about that. The guy who brought me into the station, his day job is an accountant.
Wow.
You know, so he balances the profession he was trained in with the passion that he had. And he created an additional career out of that.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad thing, you know, to be an accountant. Just those surrender, you know, your passion. So
yeah. So, you know, I was thinking about doing stuff that, you know, was more safe, you know, that you could make a more assured income out of. And for me, then my teacher, Mr. Worrell, you know, he showed me all the ways that I could diversify and make money out of music. And I really, really am grateful for him because, you know, it broadened my horizons. And from that day, like, I remember it so clearly. It was a Wednesday. I had music class on Wednesdays, and I just, you know, from that day I came home and I said to my father and I said to my mother, I'm doing music. Like, and that was it. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't a big nothing. It was just like, I can't succeed off of this if I work hard. I have to be disciplined. And that was it for me. That was it. You know, music, and I never look back.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that when he came and he said he was interested in music, I rejoiced, because that is where, you know, before he was even born, the Lord gave me his name.
Yeah.
Right? Tehillah. And if you know, Tehillah is a Hebrew word that means an expression of praise and worship. Right? Music and all of that. So my prayer in the background has always been that he would discover
who he is.
Right? And that was my thing. I wanted him in music. My prayer was that he learn as many
instruments
as he possibly could, because that's his. So that's his thing, and his middle name, interestingly enough, just simply means melodious. So
you didn't have a choice.
I didn't really know.
He was, I really, before he was born, I really sensed God was like, he is going to be in music. The Lord told me he was going to do things that you wanted to do and you couldn't do. When he picked up the Steelpan, I was so happy because you know how many times I wanted to learn the Steelpan, but time never allowed me to actually do that. So when he picked up the Steelpan, I mean, that was a rejoicing time for me. So I was really happy. One thing I will also say, Ricardo, is that when you talk about Barbados and people looking up to Rihanna, and in terms of what Tehillah said earlier, what I have noticed is, even though you have Rihanna making it in the pop culture, I recognize that a lot of the younger Barbadian artists, especially those in singing, for example, they specialize. So they do things like jazz. So they go study and they're singing jazz.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, nah. And if you hear some of these young artists coming up, I heard one young lady that did a portfolio with and I told him, please tell her I would pay any day to come hear her sing. She is that good. And I mean, that's the way they're doing. So even vocal, right? They specialize in other types of singing and versus the thing.
Yeah, to speak a bit about that, portfolio is kind of our portfolio is kind of like a coming of age, where we showcase ourselves to, to the older generations of musicians and to Barbados, and let them know, we finished our degree, we spent our 2 years, and this is what we learned, this is what we achieved in that 2 years. And to speak a bit more about, the program itself, I will tell you one thing, that singer doesn't even specialize in jazz. She, my friend Shalisha Taylor, she would have just completed her program as well, but she specialized in classical singing, and that to me, like, she has a love and a passion for jazz. We asked her because, even for portfolio, we asked her, are you gonna do something classical, are you gonna, thing? And she was like, no, I'm gonna do jazz. And I was like, she's really, really talented.
Yeah, this is good for me because when I hear Bajan music, when I think of Bajan music, alright, yes, there's the Rihanna, there's the Rupees, but the thing is walk up.
Yeah, for sure.
You think, alright, hyper man, walk up thing.
Yeah.
And to know that you'll have a rich jazz and classical space that, their pursuits of keeping the regional elements of the music alive, that your immediate heroes are the people who flesh out your industry, the producers, the musicians, the arrangers, that an event is actually your portfolio, your final project type of thing.
Correct.
I have a question for you. With your hands so immediately in music, when you see the youth around you, and all this is how I have to do the thing, right? When you see idle youth, like fellas just not doing anything, people just, I'm not saying you can't lie, you can't knock about, you can't live a little bit. I'm not saying no. But you mentioned the word discipline more than once. You mentioned passion as much as you mentioned discipline, having identified your passion and recognizing that it takes discipline, how do you feel when you see the youth around you just wasting time or doing nothing? Like, what would you tell them about your experience so far to try to get them off the block or out of the party and say, like, hey, find yourself, there is something that you can do or be? How would you do that? What would you say to them?
I would say, there are a lot of things, there are a lot of passions you could have in life. I myself have a few passions be outside of music that I like doing.
Mm-hmm.
I would just say pick one and stick to it, because it's easy to, but it's also very easy to just say that because I have my experiences. But it's not just me. There are many people alongside me who have and I'm not even just talking about music ways. I have a lot of friends who are in the arts, who are dancers, who do visual arts, who are painters, and excellent ones at that. I would say there has to be something in life that you're made for, and once you find that, you found it. And as it is, just once you find that, just push. In life, there are going to be things that come against you. There are going to be discouragements, and even in my life, I faced certain things that set me back, but it was always a case of what next rather than letting it defeat me. And I would say, don't let your circumstances dictate who you are. Everybody in life has a choice, and even if you don't think you have a choice, you have a choice. And I would say you have a choice to let it defeat you, or you have a choice to get up, dust yourself off, and go again. Every failure is just another opportunity in my eyes, and that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I'm really, really glad to hear that, and I wish I heard something like that when I was your age, decades ago. Because while you were speaking, I remember that I was in my school's choir. Keegan Taylor, also known as Tentaji, he produced the Bosshead song for Marshall and Bungie Garlin. He produced several tracks of his. He's a successful producer. Right, he's also big in Kalinda stick fighting movement, and just a few weeks ago they had a camp in New York, and then there's what's this gentleman's name again? Oh yes, Kes Differentala. Right, these are guys that I was in the choir with, and I remember when Kes won his first. We had a Mr. Presentation pageant or some talent show or something like that, and Kes won, and at the time, the band, they were playing alternative music and that sort of thing. He and his brothers and the guys that they were hanging with, they were the musicians, the creatives, and creatives are weird. The creatives are a bit weird. I don't think I embraced being different. As it was okay to be weird and have an interest that other people didn't have, or to pursue all the activities. I'm Kevin Humphrey. You ever heard of a little group called Freetown Collective?
Yes.
Right. Their vocal trainer.
Wow.
Right. Mohammed Muakil's vocal coach. Right. Is like my dude, my guy, Kevin Humphrey. Right. And we were in choir together. I attend his shows. I've tried to get him on different interviews and that type of thing. There are people who are making major inroads in the musical space, and I wonder. I have a bit of an animated personality.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't think it was too cool to be in a play, if I didn't think it was too cool, I'm not looking for all of that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to solo. I didn't want to take front line. I didn't want to lead a bass line. I didn't embrace the opportunity and the space I was in, because it was just something to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And years later to come back into the space and realize that how much I love music, how built I am for presence and stage. I wonder if, had I been in Pirates of Penzance, had I taken the opportunities around me to explore things, like really explore them, I might have been in a Marvel movie as an actor, right? You know, it would not have been M'Baku, right? I mean, brilliant performance. But what I'm saying is I don't know what I could have been in the creative space landscape. So the reason I brought you in is not just because of the convergence of pan youth international element, you being in the country, I having a fresh talk show, is also because I'm hoping that some youth in Barbados who tune in to see, well, wait, Tehillah, right? He hears that, hey, you have no idea what opportunities or what platform might be available to you just because you're stuck to your thing. I also want somebody to hear that I brought in a youth from Barbados to talk about his music experience. Hey, Ricardo, you want to interview this, that, or the other? Because what I want is the youth to come off the road and get into something. And it will be sports, it will be music, it will be creative spaces. Listen, if you want to find out how to be an accountant, I'll put you onto Aaron. Right? If that's what your thing is. And so I wanted to do this to shake the space a little bit. And you've done an excellent job representing the youth.
Thank you.
I am thoroughly impressed. And DK, I don't know if you're listening. DK is he's one of the top, in my mind, one of the top 3 pan professionals in the country. Right? He teaches, he arranges, he plays, and DK, if I wanted to bring our Bajan into our pan program here, what we could do? what we could do? Right? You've spoken to the youth. You've represented your space and your interests well, right? But you seem to be a very intentional young man. The question is, and this is probably the hardest question I'm going to ask you. What do you want to do with music?
Ooh. Funny enough, I had to answer that question recently. I want my music to represent who I am. I want my music to tell stories. I want my music to influence people to do good things, not just with their life, but be intentional in their actions, be intentional in what they say and what they do. And I hope that people resonate with my feelings, resonate with the emotions and the blood, sweat and tears that I put into my music, you know, and that's what I really, 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 really hope people get from my music. The next thing I will have to say I want from my music is that I want to put Barbadian and Caribbean music on a higher pedestal because it deserves to be revered. It deserves to be appreciated and recognized worldwide. Yeah. Because, you know, we talk about the Grammys and, you know, we have a couple Caribbean nationals across, you know, America who are living there, who have gotten themselves to be successful in music spaces, won Grammys, the whole shebang. And I want that on a whole bigger stage. You know, it's been great to see like Afrobeats take over in the last couple of years, you know, like music that has been good and you know, well produced, well made for so long, but ignored on global stages, be finally recognized, like Tyler, Burna Boy. Like, I am excited to see where we can carry Caribbean music. You know, the Caribbean Music Awards is one of the next steps, one of the next steps that I see like being made to put music, Caribbean music out there. You know, we have our reggae, we have our Bob Marley, but I think we need to spend some time appreciating, you know, our Skinny Fabulous, our Cass, our Marshall, our, you know, Nikita, Mikey, you know. I feel like we need to spend some time putting that Caribbean music out there as a region.
As a region. I
can tell you the truth. I ain't had no time for the beef with, you know, the 868 and the 246. At the end of the day,
who won the fish?
We are all one Caribbean, you know, and that's one of the things that I firmly believe. I ain't had no time to compete with Trinidad. I ain't had no time to compete with Grenada nor St. Lucia. You know, in my mind, we are all, you know, Caribbean, and we have to own it because for so long not to be that guy, but we have been taken advantage of by the powers that be, the British, the Spain, and I don't have no time to be for the people that went through the same experiences as me. We have our differences, and I think that we spend too much time highlighting our differences and rather than our similarities.
Wow. Hey, you sir are ready. You are ready. You are ready for ambassadorship. I want to thank you, Tehillah, for taking time out to come and do this with us and for us. And Trinidad and Tobago, you are going to remember when you hear his name that you met him. To the world, because we have more listeners, we probably have more listeners outside than inside. To the world, you all are going to remember his name because you met him. And this is why this program is called High Talk, because you didn't come here and say, this was not a casual conversation on music. This was a let's get straight to the point. Right? And you went deep, you were transparent, you're informative, and you stirred, just in the way that you spoke about music, you stirred things in me. And I can't wait to see what your music does. I can't wait to see what you do with it. And I can't wait to see who you become as you continue fleshing out this melodious, exclamation of praise and worship,
Thank you.
Yeah, and you guys you're excellent representatives of the 246 and the Caribbean. And as you said that, and I'm thinking, Kenny, I don't know if you're listening, but either way, I'll probably send the clip to you. I'm gonna call your name again. Being able to work with one of the greatest producers in the hemisphere, right? And there was a statement I had to use a few weeks, last week or the week before, that the people closest to the light end up squinting.
Yeah.
Right? They squint. And I sat in the studio once or twice and saw Kenny actually start to create music and pull beats together. And I'm thinking, it's not just a talent, it's a gift. It's a gift. And for the people who find a gift and pursue it, regardless of who approve or disapprove or decide to call a name and things that they're not involved in, when you pursue the development of your gift, it changes the world. It changes the world. The names that I've seen I've seen Kenny's name pop up as an arranger somewhere, as a musician, as a songwriter, as a whatever. You continue to find ways to express that, and you will change the world. You will change the Caribbean. And I will tell you something about our Afrobeats. When you're trying to build music now, or you're looking for similarities to soca and calypso and stuff, you should include Afrobeats
for sure
in your searches if you want to get any kinds of drums. So the plan is that hopefully when you type in Caribbean music, it won't just be reggae.
Correct.
In the future, So keep it up. God bless. And well, I thank you for joining me here for High Talk.
No problem.
Anything you want to say to Barbados, to anybody listening, to your school, anybody?
I just want to shout out Mr. Roger Gittins. He's one of my teachers. He is one spectacular teacher. He is hardworking, and I firmly believe he needs to be recognized on a higher level than he is now.
Yeah. And Sir Durrant, anybody you want to howdy do to?
Well, I not necessarily how to do too, but I felt really impressed to see, as you were talking earlier about not being cool, the not cool thing in school and the guys being on the block. The reality is, if you're carried away by people who are going nowhere because it's not a cool thing to be, you will never discover you.
Yeah.
So get into something and let that be the cool thing to be.
Yeah.
So that's really what I want to say. Get something, stick to it, and let that be the cool thing that people remember you.
Amen. All right. Guys, I think it's only fitting, and yes, my ignorance shows, and I have no problem showing it. I have played this man's song so many times, I did not even know he was Bajan until quite recently, disturbingly recently. So I'm going to do two things with the music to take us up to the top of the hour. One, we had to keep the positive vibes going. But in terms of the music, there's one by Gabby called Jack. It has to get a play. And the reason I'm playing that tune specifically, all you know me long enough, I don't play nothing just so. Jamaica does not own its beaches. The people of Jamaica can't go to the beach. They cannot access the beaches. And when the attempt was made in Barbados to do so, Barbados say, nope, it ain't happening. So I want you all to see what a song from 1982, right? The effects. I went to several beaches in Barbados. Walk straight off the road onto the sand.
Correct.
Right? No cover charge, nothing. Right? What I'm saying is music matters.
Yes.
Right? Gabby won, I think, that version of the road march or that year with Jack. And now, 40-something years later, the beach opened to the public. Right? A song galvanized the people. Right? So, I'm going to play that song. I'm going to play Jack. Right? And there are also one or two other songs that the young man surprised me with his interest in. One of them is a Kitchener, and the heights behind it. Anyway, I'm going to talk that talk when the time comes. But for now, we're going to do Jack to take you guys into something to help you digest what we just ingest here on High Talk, right? So thank you, Durrant. Thank you, Barbados. Thank you for people in Barbados for lending us. For lending us your personal. All right, and keep it locked. At 2 p.m., we're definitely going to open up for the What You Like Wednesdays. We already have one or two tunes inside lineup. So yeah, man, this one is Jack by the mighty Gabby.